Listen to me carefully, because almost nobody talks about this. Everybody out here teaching women how to argue better, how to demand more, how to compete with a man. But I'm about to tell you something simple. One feminine gesture that will instantly melt a man, and hardly anybody uses it anymore. You know what most women underestimate? The power of soft appreciation. I'm not talking about clapping for a man like he's a child. I'm talking about recognizing his effort in a way that touches his identity. Because a man's identity is deeply connected to what he provides, how he protects, and whether he feels effective. When you acknowledge that softly, specifically, and sincerely, it does something powerful inside him. See, a man wakes up every day with pressure on his shoulders, pressure to succeed, pressure to figure it out, pressure to not look weak. Even when he doesn't say it, he feels it. And when he walks into a relationship, he's not just bringing love, he's bringing that pressure with him. Now imagine the difference between a woman who adds more weight and a woman who says, "I see how hard you're trying." That sentence right there can melt a man, because appreciation speaks to effort, and men are wired around effort. You may not always see the battles he's fighting internally. You may not know the doubts he has. But when you notice something specific, "I really respect how you handled that," or "I appreciate you thinking about me," you're telling him he matters, not just what he produces, him. Here's the mistake most people make. They only show appreciation when something big happens. Promotion, gift, grand gesture. But real soft appreciation shows up in small moments. When he fixes something around the house, when he drives you somewhere safely, when he checks on you during the day, when he tries to solve a problem for you, those moments are opportunities. And when you miss those opportunities, he starts feeling invisible. Now understand this clearly. Appreciation is not about lowering yourself. It's not about begging. It's about choosing to see the good and saying it out loud. A lot of women feel appreciation but never express it. They assume he knows. Let me tell you something. He doesn't. Men don't decode hints the way you think. If you feel it, and say it gently. Tone matters. Delivery matters. You can say thank you with irritation and it won't land. But when you soften your voice just a little and look him in the eyes, it hits differently. It feels real. It feels intentional. That softness makes a man feel safe enough to drop his guard. And when a man drops his guard, that's when he bonds. Appreciation also builds loyalty. When a man feels valued, he invests more. Not because he's being controlled, but because he wants to keep earning that feeling. Appreciation becomes motivation. You ever notice how a man will repeat behavior that gets positive reinforcement? That's not manipulation. That's human nature. But it has to be sincere. You can't fake it. Men can sense fake energy. It has to come from a genuine place of noticing. Here's something deeper. Appreciation reduces defensiveness. When a man feels constantly criticized, he shuts down. He stops sharing. He stops trying as much. But when appreciation outweighs criticism, he becomes more open to feedback. Why? Because he doesn't feel attacked. He feels supported. Soft appreciation creates emotional safety without him even realizing it. And the reason almost no one uses this properly is because pride gets in the way. Ego gets in the way. People think, "Why should I say it first?" But the woman who understands influence doesn't wait for ego. She understands that her words carry emotional weight. When you choose to use appreciation intentionally, you're not just complimenting him. You're strengthening the connection. You're feeding the part of him that wants to be better for you. Let me tell you something most people don't understand about men. Respect is not optional to him. It is oxygen. You can love a man and still lose him if he feels disrespected. But when a woman understands the power of respect over ego, everything shifts in the relationship. See, a man's ego is not just pride. It's tied to how he sees himself in the world. It's tied to whether he feels capable, competent, and valued. When you challenge his ego publicly, mock him, interrupt him, or correct him in front of others, what he feels isn't just embarrassment, it's a loss of status. And status matters deeply to men, whether they admit it or not. Now listen carefully. Respect doesn't mean silence. It doesn't mean you don't have opinions. It doesn't mean you shrink yourself. What it means is you understand timing and tone. You don't correct your man in front of the world. If he says something slightly wrong at dinner, you don't jump in and say, "That's not what happened." You let him finish. You protect his image in public. Then later, in private, you can say gently, "Hey, I think it actually happened this way." That right there shows loyalty. And loyalty melts a man faster than attraction ever could. When a man feels that his woman has his back in public, he becomes more open in private. He listens more. He softens more. But when he feels like he has to defend himself from the world and from you, walls go up immediately. And once those walls go up, it's hard to get through. Respect is also how you speak about him when he's not in the room. You'd be surprised how much word travels. If he finds out you've been belittling him to friends or family, something breaks inside him. It may not show immediately, but it changes how safe he feels with you. Respect over ego means you choose connection over winning arguments. A lot of relationships turn into competitions. Who's right? Who earns more? Who sacrificed more? But the moment it becomes a scoreboard, intimacy starts dying. Because love isn't about keeping score, it's about understanding roles and honoring each other's strengths. Men are extremely sensitive to feeling inadequate, even strong men, even confident men. When you use sarcasm to highlight his flaws, when you compare him to other men, when you say things like, "Why can't you be more like," that hits deep. It doesn't motivate him. It discourages him. But when you say, "I trust your judgment," you empower him. When you say, "I respect how you handled that," you elevate him. And when a man feels respected, he naturally wants to protect and provide more. It activates something inside him that says, "I want to be better for her." Here's another thing. Tone during disagreements. You can disagree without disrespecting. You don't roll your eyes. You don't laugh at him. You don't dismiss his feelings. Even if you think he's wrong, you say, "Help me understand your perspective." That one sentence changes the energy of the entire conversation. Respect creates calm. Disrespect creates conflict. And let me tell you something powerful. When a woman respects a man, he becomes more emotionally available because he doesn't feel threatened. He feels safe enough to admit fears, doubts, and weaknesses. But he will only do that with a woman who doesn't weaponize his vulnerability later. Respect over ego means you don't use his weak moments against him in future arguments. That's maturity. That's strength. The feminine power in respect is subtle but strong. It's not loud. It's not aggressive. It's steady. It communicates, "I value you as a man." And when a man feels valued in his masculinity instead of challenged in it, he relaxes. He bonds deeper. He invests more. Because at the end of the day, love draws him in, but respect makes him stay. Let me explain something that most people overlook because it looks small on the outside, but it's powerful on the inside. The look that says, "I choose you." I'm not talking about flirting. I'm not talking about dramatic affection. I'm talking about that quiet, intentional look a woman gives her man that communicates belief, loyalty, and admiration without saying a word. You see, men are visual creatures. Everybody knows that part. But what people don't understand is that men also read emotional signals through your eyes. The way you look at him tells him whether you admire him or tolerate him, whether you're proud of him or disappointed in him, whether you're with him or just around him. That look can either build him up or slowly tear him down. When a man is talking about his plans, his ideas, his goals, and you're looking distracted, checking your phone, scanning the room, he feels dismissed. He may not say it, but he feels it. But when you lock in and your eyes say, "I believe in you," that lands deep. That makes him feel seen. And being seen is powerful. See, a man spends most of his life trying to prove himself, prove he's capable, prove he's strong, prove he's worthy. But when the woman he cares about looks at him like he already is those things, something shifts inside him. He stands a little straighter. He talks with more confidence. He feels like he has support. That silent look across the room in public, that's influence. When you're at a gathering and he's speaking to others and you glance at him with pride, not jealousy, not competition, not indifference, pride. That tells him, "I'm with you." And men crave that unity. They crave knowing their woman is aligned with them. Here's what most women don't realize. A man watches your reactions more than he listens to your words. If he achieves something and you respond with excitement in your eyes, he feels victorious. If he shares an idea and your face tightens with doubt, he feels small. Your eyes communicate faster than your mouth ever will. And let's go deeper. When he's frustrated, when he's stressed, when he's unsure, and you look at him calmly, not panicked, that steadiness reassures him. That says, "You've got this." Even if he doesn't fully believe it yet, your belief helps him believe. Now that's power, because belief from the right woman can fuel a man through dark seasons. But here's where people get it wrong. Some women withhold that look intentionally. They think, if I show too much admiration, he'll get comfortable. That's ego. And ego blocks connection. A man doesn't get weaker when he feels admired. He gets more motivated. He wants to live up to the image he sees reflected in your eyes. When your look says, "You're my man," that creates emotional security. And emotional security creates commitment. It's also about how you look at other men in his presence. If your eyes wander with interest towards someone else, even subtly, he feels it immediately. Men are extremely sensitive to that. But when your attention stays anchored to him, especially in rooms where there are options, it reinforces his position. That look is a quiet form of loyalty. You don't have to say, "I choose you," every day, but your eyes can say it consistently. And consistency matters. Because when a man feels chosen, not just settled for, he bonds deeper, he invests harder, he protects more fiercely, he opens more willingly, all from a look that most people underestimate. It's not dramatic, it's not loud, it's subtle, but it melts him because it feeds his need to feel significant to you. And significance is everything to a man. Let's talk about something that separates strong relationships from fragile ones: public loyalty and private correction. Most people get this backwards. They embarrass their partner in public and then try to show affection in private. That doesn't work. If you want to understand real feminine influence, you protect your man's dignity in front of others, and you handle disagreements behind closed doors. A man's pride is deeply connected to how he is perceived, not just by strangers, but by you, especially by you. If he feels exposed, mocked, or undermined in front of friends, family, or even social media, something shuts down inside him. He may laugh it off, he may stay quiet, but he won't forget it, because to a man, public disrespect feels like betrayal. Now, listen carefully. This doesn't mean you agree with everything he says. It doesn't mean you don't have your own mind. It means you understand timing. If he makes a small mistake telling a story, you don't interrupt and correct him in front of everyone. If he shares an opinion you disagree with, you don't roll your eyes or challenge him aggressively in public. You let him finish. You let him have his moment. And later, when it's just the two of you, you speak calmly. "Hey, earlier when you said that, I actually felt..." That's strength. That's maturity. See, when you correct a man privately, he doesn't feel attacked. He feels respected. And when he feels respected, he's more open to listening. But when you correct him publicly, his focus shifts from understanding you to defending himself. Defense kills intimacy. Public loyalty means you stand beside him, not above him. It means when someone else criticizes him unfairly, you don't join in. You don't laugh along to fit in. You don't stay silent if silence feels like agreement. You subtly reinforce him. You show unity. That unity builds trust. And trust is what makes a man soften. Here's what many women don't realize. When you protect his image publicly, he becomes more protective of your heart privately. When he knows you won't embarrass him, he feels safe enough to open up. He shares more. He becomes vulnerable because he trusts that you won't weaponize his weaknesses later. And that's crucial. Nothing closes a man off faster than knowing his vulnerabilities might be used against him during the next argument. But when he knows disagreements stay between you two, he relaxes emotionally. Public loyalty also means how you represent him when he's not present. If someone speaks negatively about him, do you add to it? Or do you defend him, even in subtle ways? That matters more than you think. Men pay attention to how their woman speaks about them. And private correction, that's where growth happens. That's where real conversations happen. Without an audience, without pride, without pressure, just honesty. You can say hard things gently. You can express hurt without humiliation. When you did that, it made me feel overlooked. That's different from, "You always mess up." One invites reflection, the other invites resistance. The goal isn't to win the argument. The goal is to strengthen the bond. Public humiliation creates emotional distance. Private understanding creates closeness. And here's the deeper truth. When a man feels that his woman protects his dignity, he will fight to protect the relationship. He won't feel like he's competing with you. He'll feel aligned with you. Alignment builds power, because a man who feels safe from embarrassment is a man who can fully show up. And when he fully shows up, the connection deepens naturally. That quiet choice to honor him publicly and guide him privately, that melts him in ways loud affection never will. Let me tell you something people underestimate all the time. Gentle touch is powerful, not dramatic. Not loud, not forced, gentle. And when it's done with intention, it hits deeper than words ever could. See, a man lives in a world where everything is hard. His tone has to be firm. His decisions have to be strong. His emotions have to be controlled. He's taught from a young age not to show too much softness. So, when a woman introduces softness through physical reassurance, it reaches a place he rarely allows anyone to access. I'm not talking about intimacy. I'm talking about small moments. When he's talking about something important and you lightly rest your hand on his arm. When he's stressed and you place your hand on his back without saying anything. When you sit close enough that your presence feels connected, not distant. That physical reassurance tells him you're not alone. And men don't hear that message often. Here's the key: timing. Gentle touch during tension can completely change the energy. If he's frustrated and you respond with more words, it can escalate. But if you respond with calm closeness, a soft hand on his chest, a reassuring squeeze, his nervous system literally shifts. He relaxes, his breathing slows, his guard lowers. Touch communicates safety faster than language. And when a man feels safe, he becomes more emotionally available. Not because you forced him, not because you demanded it, but because his body feels at ease around you. Now listen carefully. This is not about chasing him with affection when he's distant. It's about being intentional when you are together. A man notices when his woman leans into him instead of pulling away. That lean says, "I'm with you." That small closeness reinforces connection without drama. Most couples underestimate how powerful consistent, gentle contact is. Over time, distance grows not because of big fights, but because of small gaps, sitting farther apart, no casual touches, no reassuring gestures. Those gaps slowly create emotional space. Gentle touch closes those gaps. It also affirms attraction without needing constant verbal validation. When you touch him naturally, not mechanically, he feels desired. And feeling desired matters to a man more than most people admit. It reassures him that he still holds value in your eyes. And here's something deeper. When a man is vulnerable, maybe he shares something heavy, something he doesn't usually talk about, your reaction matters. If you freeze or immediately analyze it, he may regret opening up. But if you move closer, soften your expression, and place a reassuring hand on him, that tells him it's safe to keep going. Safety builds emotional intimacy. You don't always need advice. Sometimes your presence is the solution. Another thing, greeting and goodbye touches. The way you welcome him home, the way you send him off, a genuine hug that lingers for a second longer, a kiss on the cheek with intention. Those rituals create emotional anchors. They reinforce that connection is steady. Men remember how they feel around you, more than what you say, more than what you promise. They remember the emotional atmosphere. If your touch feels warm and calm, he associates you with peace. And peace is addictive because the world competes with him every day, challenges him every day. But when he's with you, if he feels gentleness instead of tension, closeness instead of distance, reassurance instead of pressure, that's where he wants to stay. Gentle touch isn't weakness, it's influence. It lowers defenses without confrontation. It invites closeness without control. And when done consistently, it builds a bond that arguments can't break easily. That softness, expressed through simple physical reassurance, melts him because it reminds him he doesn't have to be strong every second. And very few people use it intentionally anymore. Let me take you to the deepest one of all. Gratitude that feels personal, not generic, not automatic, not something you say because it sounds polite. I'm talking about gratitude that reaches into a man's identity and tells him he matters specifically to you. See, most people say thank you like it's a reflex. It's quick, it's casual, it's empty. But when gratitude becomes detailed, intentional, and emotional, it hits differently. A man doesn't just want to know that you appreciate what he did, he wants to know why it mattered to you. There's a difference between thanks and I really appreciated how you stayed calm in that situation. It made me feel protected. That second one lands deep because now you're not just acknowledging the action, you're connecting it to impact. And impact is everything to a man. Men are wired to feel valuable through the difference they make. When he knows his presence improved your life, even in a small way, something activates inside him. He feels purposeful. He feels significant. And significance is one of a man's strongest emotional needs. Here's what most women miss. They feel gratitude internally, but they don't articulate it specifically. They assume he knows. But a man cannot read your internal emotions unless you express them clearly. When you say, "I feel safe when I'm with you," that's not flattery. That's fuel. When you say, I admire how hard you work for us, that's not exaggeration. That's reinforcement. And when gratitude feels personal, when it connects his effort to your emotional experience, he bonds to that feeling. Now let's go deeper. Gratitude also softens conflict. If a relationship becomes constant criticism, a man starts feeling like he's always falling short. And when he feels like he can't win, he stops trying as hard. Not because he doesn't care, but because he feels defeated. But when gratitude outweighs complaint, he feels encouraged. Encouragement builds momentum, and momentum builds consistency. You ever notice how someone performs better when they feel appreciated? Same principle. It's human psychology, but with men it touches pride and purpose at the same time. Here's another layer. Timing. Express gratitude when he least expects it. Not only after grand gestures, after small, unnoticed things. Thank you for always making sure I get home safely. I appreciate how you check on me during the day. Those moments tell him that you are paying attention. Attention equals value, and when a man feels valued, he invests deeper emotionally. Now listen carefully. Gratitude that feels personal is different from praise that feels exaggerated. If it's fake, he'll sense it. It has to be rooted in truth. You're not creating something that isn't there. You're highlighting what already exists. That's what makes it powerful. When you look at him and say, I'm grateful for who you are, not just what you do, that reaches beyond performance. That tells him he doesn't have to constantly prove himself to earn your appreciation. That lowers pressure. And when pressure lowers, affection rises. Here's something subtle but strong. Gratitude expressed in front of others builds pride. Gratitude expressed in private builds intimacy. Both matter. When you speak positively about him in public settings, it reinforces his status. When you whisper appreciation privately, it reinforces his connection to you. Men don't always express how much they need this, but they do. And when gratitude becomes a consistent language in the relationship, he doesn't just feel loved. He feels chosen, respected, and needed. That combination melts him quietly, not in a dramatic way, in a steady, powerful way that builds long-term attachment. Because at the end of the day, a man will always gravitate toward the place where he feels most appreciated.